Previous class we have tried to answer some of the issues like why I want to have security at each and every layer, like network layer, transport layer and application layer. And we have also seen when I consider transport layer, when I consider network layer, how you are trying to secure your data which is available at the network layer and also the header of IP using two different kinds of protocols like authentication header, which we call it as AH, and ESP, encapsulated security payload. These are the two things which we were using to provide security. AH, it provides only authentication, and when I consider ESP, it also provides encryption, or you can say confidentiality is protected by using ESP, but AH cannot guarantee confidentiality. Now, in today's class, we will see the topic of transport layer security, where we try to provide security for the information which is being exchanged by transport layer. So this was designed to provide security at transport layer, as we discussed earlier, and this TLS has been developed by considering the reference from SSL, that is secure socket layer. We had earlier secure socket layer. By adding some more features to SSL, TLS has been implemented. So we can consider like why we need TLS. To address that one, we can consider the following information. So for example, if I consider a customer, okay, he may be interested in making sure like whatever the server to which he is trying to connect, that is not a duplicate or dummy one, but it is actual server. Okay, an example what we can consider is you are trying to order something in Amazon. So when you order something, it is not a problem. But if you are paying online, then you want to make sure like you are actually paying to Amazon, not to some hacker. Okay. So I don't know if you have heard about this news or not, but when bifurcation happened and Telangana and AP got divided, even ministries like government ministries will be there, right? They also got divided, and I think with respect to RTA, road transportation will be there, right? Related to that or something, I don't remember the exact department, but they had some department for which people used to pay amount online. But what hackers have done is exactly replicate to that website. They have created another website, and many people in AP they ended up in paying to the fake website. Okay, which went into hackers accounts, not into the government account. Okay, like that. In reality, thing happened. So whenever I am paying something on Amazon, or whenever I am trying to log into Gmail or Facebook, anything, I want to make sure like I am actually trying to connect to the intended person, not the dummy or a hacker. Okay, so that is the first reason why I need transport layer security. Can I say like with IPsec I am going to provide this thing? Can I say? Or did you get a doubt like we have IPsec which is available at network layer, right? Why we are not using that one to provide security here? Why we are going for transport layer? Can anyone try to answer that? Yes, 31. Why we are going for TLS again when we had IPsec?
So transport layer gives the reliable message delivery network.
No, we are talking about the security, right? Security is provided at network layer. So why again I need to have a transport layer? So for example, if I consider network layer, it is trying to protect the data which is coming from transport layer, and same way it will give to the transport layer at the other side. But in case like transport layer means when I consider my device, my laptop, if I am sending information from Facebook or Gmail or Orkut, your network layer doesn't know that one. Okay, so you will come and you will deliver to a particular port address. Whether I am connected to Facebook or Gmail at that particular port address, it will be taken care by transport layer. It is not the responsibility of network layer. It doesn't understand that port addresses. Okay, so hacker may do like he can have original banking account or original Amazon account on one particular port address, a fake account on another port address, but the system, whatever the IP address of that system, it is going to be unique. So by using your network layer IPsec, you are not capable of securing to which process you are communicating at transport layer. So that is the reason we again require at the top transport layer security, which can make sure like when customer is trying to log into some particular server will be authenticated to customer. Okay, the same way how we are providing our username and password to Gmail or Facebook or any banking site, even your server, the corresponding Facebook or Gmail, they are trying to prove their identity to the system. They are not coming and saying like whenever you open Facebook, they are not coming and saying to the user, this is the fake server or original server like that, but they are proving the identity to your system. Okay, and next need, what do we have? The customer needs to be sure that the contents of the message are not modified during the transmission. Okay, so again, like with respect to integrity, I don't want my message to be modified. Okay, then we need to make sure like we do not have any intermediate person, imposter, to take this particular information such as credit card information or debit card information or your username and password of a banking website. Okay, so we want server to be authenticated for us, like we want to make sure like we are communicating to actual vendor, okay, not an hacker, or we want to make sure like your information is not modified, and we want to make sure like our information, sensitive information like username, password, credit card details, so and so, those things are not stolen by the intermediate person. Okay, these are the requirements. The other option what we can have here is we can also authenticate a particular customer. Okay, so you are communicating, right? Even the authentication process of you, that can also be considered under TLS security. So these are some of the requirements we have when we consider TLS. Why we need TLS means we need to give these examples. Then where are we going to have this TLS? So you are going to have this TLS in between TCP and application. What about IPsec? Where are we going to have IPsec? In the previous class we considered, right? Where are we going to have IPsec? Yes? No answer? So if you remember, while discussing IPsec, we said like we can have IP security available in tunnel mode or transport mode. Okay. So if you are considering transport mode, then it will be in between transport layer and IP layer. If you are considering in tunnel mode, then it will be after network layer. Okay. So what's the general idea of this TLS? How does it work? Okay, we have some goals which TLS should satisfy. So the first one is when two parties, if they are agreeing on some protocols, okay, like the protocols are like entity authentication protocol. Okay, entity authentication protocol is like customer will prove its identity with server, server will prove identity with customer. Okay, so the two parties should agree on what kind of entity authentication protocol we are going to follow. Then a message authentication protocol. Message you will have to authenticate the message. Okay, for that also we are going to use some kind of encryption or decryption protocols we are going to use. That also both communicating entities should understand. Like I may be interested in some algorithm like AES 128, but the other person may not be having the capability to handle with AES 128. Then we need to go with another algorithm like DES 64, okay, or triple DES, something kind of that. Okay, like that you will have to switch on to another encryption or decryption protocol. So the first thing is, whenever we want to have TLS, the both parties should agree on these three protocols. What kind of entity authentication protocol I have to go with, what message authentication protocol I have to go with, and what encryption or decryption protocol I want to go with. So when I consider entity authentication, as I said, we have to authenticate between each other. Like both will prove their identities with each other, and then they are going to share a particular secret. Okay, then they are going to establish a secret between the two entities. Like the third parties will not have what is this secret which exists between these two entities. Then each party will define or will come up with keys. Like we have the secret key, right? Based on that, you are going to have a predefined function. If you are passing to that, we can actually create some keys, session keys we call it as. These session keys, whenever you start communication and communicate till that particular communication lasts, you are going to have this sessions. One session keys. Once that communication stops and new communication you start, then you need to have new session keys. So each party, they are going to use predefined function. Like they are going to fix on some predefined function which they have to use to create session keys, and the other parameters which are required for message authentication and encryption decryption protocol. So by using a predefined function, they are going to create session keys and parameter required for further authentication or encryption and decryption. Using these things, they are going to calculate a digest. Okay, you are going to have message. For that, you will be generating a digest, or you can also call it as message authentication code, MAK we call MAC. This is calculated and it is appended to each message. Like whatever the message you are exchanging, for that you are going to attach this digest, and you are going to generate, like you are going to generate this particular code, the message authentication code, by using the protocol whatever you have agreed. Like if I say like I will use X message authentication protocol, okay, using that one we are going to generate this particular digest. And to generate that also, we are going to take the help of the corresponding keys or parameters. For example, if I consider one message authentication protocol, it may require keys or some parameters. We will use appropriate things and we will generate the digest. Then the message and digest are encrypted using the protocol which they have agreed and the corresponding keys or parameters which they have generated. And each party extracts the necessary keys and parameters needed for message authentication and does the process of encryption or decryption. So overall what we are doing, first you are agreeing upon what kind of protocols we have to use, then we will prove each other who we are. Like I will prove myself like I am so and so person, and Amazon will prove like it is Amazon itself. Then we both will come up with some session keys and also some parameters which will be useful for me to come up with, or which will be useful for Amazon and me to have message authentication and also encryption and decryption. And after doing all these things, I am going to have my message for which I will generate some code or message authentication code, we can also call it as digest, by using the respective message authentication protocol and whatever the parameters or keys required by that one. After that, this entire thing we are going to encrypt with whatever the keys we have exchanged earlier. And then at the other side, we will first extract the necessary keys and the parameters, and we will try to decode the message, and also we will try to generate again the respective message authentication code, and we will compare everything and we will confirm that nothing has been modified. Okay. So overall TLS we can consider like this. You are going to have application layer, then you are going to have handshake protocol, chain cypherspec protocol, alert protocol, and record protocol. Okay, so these are the protocols which you are going to have, and we will see what each protocol does. So handshake protocol, as the name suggests, you are going to exchange some of the details between the communicating entities. What are the details you are going to exchange? Like authentication of both sides. First, you will, like whenever you communicate with new people, what you will do? You will exchange your details, right? I am so and so person and so person, like that. You are going to exchange your details. So this handshake protocol also, like first we are going to do authentication of both sides. Okay, then we will communicate, like for example, whenever you want to buy a new car, what happens? First you will go to the shop, and there they will say what are the ranges of cars they have. You will also say what are the what is the range in which you are expecting, what are the brands. Okay, like that you will be sharing information, right? Similarly, here also if you have to communicate, first the two communicating entities should exchange the information, like what kind of algorithms both are okay with. That means I may be interested in some encryption or decryption algorithm, okay, and the other person may be interested in some things. Whatever the common part we have, we are going to select those things. Similarly, we are going to do the same process for hash algorithm also. Then, as we considered in the previous case, we are going to generate some keys which are useful for exchange of data. So when we do all these things, we can say like handshaking is done between communicating entity and the other person, receiving entity. Okay, so this process is basically done in 4 phases. Then chain cypherspec protocol. When I consider chain cypherspec protocol, this protocol basically takes care of activating the respective message authentication code, like what message authentication code I have to use. Okay, sorry, message authentication protocol I have to use, and also it tries to come up with like earlier in handshake protocol we have used we have exchanged what are the encryption decryption algorithms that we can handle, right? So from that you are going to select a particular message authentication code, and you are going to select a particular encryption or decryption algorithm. Okay, after all of the agreements are confirmed in handshake protocol, so you will do handshaking there, and you are going to activate those things. So you will kind of start the respective domains of encryption and decryption and message authentication here. Then you are going to have alert protocol. So when I consider alert protocol, you are going to signal, like for example, you have done something, you have said like I am okay with this kind of message authentication protocol, but you have received with some other protocol message authentication code. In such case, like you can inform the other person about this error. So it's kind of alert which both will be exchanging. And also like if you have anything related to security condition, if you have some problem about that also, you will be exchanging by using alert protocol. Then we have record protocol. Basically it accepts message which is coming from application layer or any other protocols which we have, and also from handshake protocol, chain cypherspec and alert protocol, like we have seen in this particular figure. It's going to get information from any of these 4, like application or handshake or chain cypherspec or alert. Then it compresses that particular thing and it creates a digest and encrypts. After doing all these things, it adds the corresponding protocol header of record layer, and it will be delivered to TCP for further transmission. That is what happens over here. So if I have to simply remember these things, first handshake. Handshake means you are going to communicate about each other, and you are going to exchange the capabilities of each other. Chain Cyberspec protocol, as the name suggests, you are, for example, previously I have used something, now I have to use some other thing. So you are going to activate the respective protocols here. Alert protocol, if there is any error or unusual activity which is being taking place, then you are going to choose this alert protocol. Then record protocol, you are going to get information from the three above protocols and also from application, and you are going to compress it, and you are going to digest and generate digest and encrypt and give it to TCP after adding the respective protocol header. So handshake protocol, like we said, we are going to have 4 phases. The first one is establishing security capabilities. What security, like what kind of security mechanism you can use. Okay, those kind of things, they are being exchanged here. Then server responds here with its authentication and also the key which it has selected. For example, there may be some public key related to server, right? That if it is needed, it will exchange in phase 2. Phase 3, similarly, client authenticates and exchanges the key. Like it proves its authenticity, and also it tries to exchange the public key of client. Then we are going to have finalizing of handshake protocol. Okay. So in the finalization, like whatever the previous thing we have considered, all those things will be finalized here. So the same thing we are saying here, like what is being done in phase 1, then what is being done in phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4. So is it clear? Any doubts you have?
No, sir.
Okay, so basically this TLS basically is complemented, handshake protocol is being done in 4 different phases. Then we have the other thing, record protocol. So when I consider record protocol, like we said, it can receive data from the 3 protocols or application layer. That information you are going to compress, and compressed data will be attached with a hash function. Okay, or a message authentication code, we can say, that is called as digest. Okay, so compressed data you are sending to hash, it generates a digest or message authentication code, and that will be added with compressed data, and you are encrypting this entire thing, for which you are adding record protocol header, and you will be giving to transport layer. That is how you are going to do this complete process at TLS. Okay. Okay, so that is about how we provide security at network layer and transport layer. About VPN, if you remember, virtual private networks, while discussing addresses, we did consider VPN. So basically what happens in VPN is, you're going to give some kind of IP address inside an organization, but that IP address is not known for the external people. Okay, so they won't be able to access this particular system directly. Okay, so you are going to have some kind of virtual private network. You can give your own IP addresses, you can communicate within your organization, and you can make sure like your data is not being captured by outside entities. Like that, you can have some kind of restrictions over there. You are going to have a firewall at the VPN border, and that protects from people going outside and also data coming inside. When I say people going outside, don't consider people will be going. The data going from people's websites, okay, like their respective websites or their respective systems, like that. Then we have another thing which we call it as we can say firewalls, which tries to protect from unauthorized usage, or maybe we can say like it is kind of a filter which tries to filters out unwanted things. Okay, so we have two types of firewalls over here. Again, it is one of the important one where they will ask you to describe about packet filter firewall or proxy firewall. Okay, so it will be like this. You're going to have a complete internet, rest of the world I can say, and your own organization network. Basically, this is the firewall which we have over here. Uh, from outside, if some data is coming, this firewall monitors that and allows it to the internal network. Similarly, if something is going out of the network, out of your organization, this monitors again, and if it feels like proper, it's going to send it to the outside. Okay. Then packet filter firewall, when I consider, it is going to filter based on some of the parameters. Like for example, if I consider a particular interface, what are the source IP is allowed on that particular interface? What is source port address which is allowed? What is destination IP? What is destination port address? Like that, each and every parameter we are going to check and we will be forwarding. So if I have some information on port 1, okay, that is coming at port 1, that's over here, I'll be checking the respective source IP address. If it is from 131.34.0.0, I'm going to forward it. Okay. It can be any source port address to which it is communicating, any destination port. Okay. Star indicates no compulsory. Okay. But if it is going only from 131.34.0.0, I'm going to forward. Similarly, again, we have one more thing. You might be sending from any IP address, any port address, any destination IP, but destination port should be 20. Okay, then I'm not going to bother about remaining three things. Or I may be filtering based on destination IP. Okay, so I'm going to allow only the packets which are coming from going to this particular address. And I am trying to allow only the packets to 80, port 80, that is HTTPS. Okay, it uses port 80. So like that, then only I am going to forward the packets. So these are something like the firewall is trying to filter the packets based on their properties. Okay, a packet filter firewall filters all network or transport layer. Basically, it does operate at network or transport layer. So basically, I can say like this packet filter firewall is kind of your watchman who checks at your IP. Basically, they won't check, but in general, what has to be done? They have to check your ID cards. If it is written hostile, they should not allow you to go out. Okay, and if someone is coming inside, they have to make sure like it is they are having GNIT's ID. Okay, that's what they have to follow, right? If it is day scholar, they should allow. If it is hostler, they should not allow. If it is if you are having your college ID, then you are allowed to get in. Like that, you can have any rules. Then we have proxy firewall, where all the packets, like I may be having an HTTP server. Okay, an HTTP server is here. So on behalf of this one, I have a gateway system which is acting. Okay, so all the HTTP packets will be routed over here, okay, from firewall, and whatever the errors we have, that errors will be communicated to firewall. Okay, so accepted packets will go and rejected packets, they are going to be like error information you are going to feed back to firewall. Okay, but your application gateway, looking at your own IP address or something, it is going to forward the accepted packets. Like I do not have HTTP server directly connected to firewall. Okay, so is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so a proxy firewall filters at the application layer. Okay, so what are the differences we have? When I consider packet filter, it is working either at transport or network layer. But when I consider this one, what do I say? Packet proxy firewall. It is operating at application layer. Okay. So we have done with fifth unit over here.